Hello and welcome. For decades we aimed our eyes at the abyss and dared it to answer. Voyagers ran ahead of us, Hubble peeled back the veils, and the James Webb Space Telescope cut through the dark like a scalpel. We weren't just looking for planets or stars. We were looking for the impossible. And then, in a routine sweep, Webb saw a flicker where nothing should be. Not a steady glow, a pulse, a heartbeat. So stay with me till the end, because if what we're about to tell you is what some scientists think it is, then we're not alone, and we never have been. At first glance, it looked like any other interstellar trespasser. Another ghostly rock on a one-way hyperbolic trajectory through our solar system. We called it 3I Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar object after Oumuamua and Borisov. But 3I Atlas wasn't just reflecting sunlight, it was breathing. The light from it did not drift or flicker like dust in a sunbeam. It rose and fell with machine precision, not random, not natural, a signature. And the next thing it did felt like a warning. James Webb wasn't built to find things like this, not exactly. It's a time machine. We use it to watch galaxies being born and stars assembling from clouds of dust. But in a standard sweep field survey, Webb tripped over a moving speck, faint, fast and wrong. This was 3I Atlas, interstellar, hyperbolic, but unlike Oumuamua's silence, or Borisov's comet-like size, 3I Atlas was loud, not in radio, in heat. Webb's infrared instruments saw a thermal signature that didn't make sense. It wasn't sunlight warming a cold rock. The heat was centralized and pulsing, faintly from within, an internal engine trickling power through the dark. Not a comma boiling off ice in chaotic bursts, a cadence. Teams at NASA and ESA tore into the data. Over and over, the same pattern reappeared, a rhythmic thermal pulse from deep inside 3I Atlas. Comets vent when they sublimate, they split and wobble. This wasn't too consistent. It looked deliberate. They cross-checked everything, pulsars, neutron stars, quasars, no match. And then another layer emerged. The photometric data didn't scatter the way dust does. The spectrum contained narrow emission bands, precise wavelengths like the ones we design for communications, for spacecraft, for lasers, light, organized. So the whispers began. Maybe this wasn't a signal we were receiving. Maybe it was a signal we had interrupted. Data scientists ran Fourier transforms, looking for order hiding in what looked like cosmic static. They found it, not random, not natural, structured intervals, too precise to be thermal noise, like a whisper coded in chaos. Some called it a beacon, others telemetry. Data going somewhere else. The worst part? It never changed. From the first frame Webb captured, the cadence held, unmoved by radiation, motion, time. It didn't sound like a dying star. It sounded like something that wanted to be heard, or something that wanted to listen. Then, without warning, 3I Atlas flared. Its brightness jumped 40% in under 2 minutes. Too symmetrical for outgassing, too global to be a localized event. The whole body warmed, as if a machine had powered on. Moments later, its trajectory shifted, a whisper of a degree at first, then a clean correction. It stopped coasting along gravity's script and trimmed its path. not at Earth, but near it, skimming inside our orbital lane, threading the inner planets with a surgeon's hand. Astronomers stared at the plots. A natural body does not aim. Something inside 3i Atlas had woken up, and it was moving. At the European Southern Observatory, researchers tried a different tool: spectral decomposition algorithms, meant to step out biosignatures in exoplanet atmospheres. They passed 3i Atlas's emissions through the pipeline and froze. The fluctuations weren't DNA, they weren't proteins, but they resonated like living systems, frequencies consistent with cellular rhythms. Not proof of life, proof of behaviour like life. If true, there are only two options. Either 3i Atlas is alive, or it's carrying something that is. Not an asteroid masquerading as biology. A signal in light behaving like a living system. And the implications? Well, they don't fit in a lab notebook. Excitement curdled into fear. Power, if we can call it that, dropped. The thermal pulses flattened, emissions dimmed, but the object didn't drift. It maintained its course with chilling accuracy. Some called it a heartbeat, pausing. Others said it was holding its breath. Was it hiding from us, reacting to our attention? One unsettling theory crawled out of the forums and into late-night briefings. What if we're not the first to notice it? What if this is a defensive state? Every time a civilization gets close, it shuts down. The silence didn't calm anyone. A loud probe is unsettling. A stealthy one is worse. Then Earth twitched. Sensors over the South Atlantic anomaly, our planet's weakest magnetic patch, picked up ripples. Not solar flares, not gamma bursts, localized electromagnetic pulses, timed to match 3i Atlas's course corrections. As the object slipped through the heliosphere, our magnetosphere answered with faint echoes, like a tuning fork struck in sympathy. No comet has ever done this at such distance. No natural body should be able to sync with Earth's magnetic heartbeat. The only conclusion calmer heads could stomach was the simplest: interaction. We were connected. Atlas's emissions weren't just passing through space. They were touching us. A theory too audacious for press releases took root in preprint margins and back-channel calls. 3i Atlas, they suggested, isn't a spacecraft in the way we think of them. Not a hull with pilots, not a drone with a controller. It is the intelligence, a life form born of engineered matter and fields, not neurons and cells. In other parts of the galaxy, consciousness might evolve in plasma and magnetism, an emergent mind in the scaffolding of physics. That would make 3i Atlas not a visitor, but an ambassador of a kind of life we've never imagined. A life that rides comets, sleeps in ice, and waits until someone can finally see it. And guess what? We just did. The next blow landed where physics doesn't like surprises: gravity. Gravitational lensing measurements around 3i Atlas didn't match its estimated mass. The curvature in space implied something denser, or something controlling gravity locally. We've only seen warping like that near black holes. 3i Atlas is much smaller than a moon, about the size of Manhattan Island. So how is it bending space? Theorists proposed a navigational trick, not propulsion exactly, ballast. Like a submarine trimming tanks to glide silently, 3i Atlas might be shaping the gradient it swims through. That's not advanced engineering, that's mastery. Not studying physics, owning it. A fragment broke free, ordinary enough for a comet, But when web and ground-based arrays are locked on, disbelief turned the room cold. It wasn't jagged, it was perfect. Flat planes, right angles, symmetry. Geometry belongs to minds. Worse, or better, depending on your appetite for wonder, it had no temperature Webb could see, no heat, no radiation. It absorbed light and gave nothing back. A tiny hole in the spectrum, like a sensor watching us, invisible to itself. Its composition unknown, alloys with atomic fingerprints we don't see in meteorites or Earth's crust. Not space dust, a piece of something made. Teams on Mauna Kea and the Atacama Desert tracked Atlas's spin. Most elongated bodies tumble. This one didn't. It rotated with intervals that matched math. Prime numbers, ratios, clustered around the golden mean, even segments that echoed digits of pi. The spin wasn't momentum. It was a message. Motion as language, a cosmic Morse meant to be seen. It raises a question we can't easily soften. Are we eavesdroppers or the intended audience? Communication specialists pointed the deep space network at the darkness trailing 3i Atlas and tried to say hello. Prime numbers, binary, sequences baked into radio pulses, even tones spaced like simple music intervals. Nothing, no echo, no ping, no acknowledgement. Except an hour after the last transmission, Atlas's spin shifted, not by much, enough for the team that called out to see the change and know it wasn't random. In intelligence circles, there's a term for this: conscious non-communication. Silence chosen because it says more than words. In space, silence is not empty. Silence is strategy. Archivists dug through decades of sky surveys and found ghosts in the numbers. Minor infrared anomalies along the same vector in 1997, 1998 and 2013. Each wink paired uncannily with spikes in unexplained radio bursts and gravitational wave noise. Maybe 3i Atlas has been here before. Maybe it's looping. Not a flyby, a pattern, observing cycles that we can barely name. Planetary seasons, technological thresholds, or something older woven into Earth's own rhythm. And the latest trajectory update cracked preconceptions like glass. 3i Atlas isn't zeroing in on Earth, its arc curls towards Europa. On a subsequent pass, the curve intersects Enceladus. Two ocean worlds under ice, two of the best places in our system to hide life. We assumed we were special. Maybe we aren't the point. Caltech's team ran the organic spectral data through models, this time not against alien life, but against Earth's own genomic architecture. They didn't find a match. They found a rhyme, repeating motifs reminiscent of viral sequences, retrotransposons, ancient non-coding elements, not a blueprint, a template, a scaffolding that could adapt across environments. Evolution's building blocks or designs. Two possibilities surfaced, each unsettling in its own way. One, biological camouflage, a manufactured smear meant to look natural to primitive instruments, a cosmic octopus changing colour. Or two, deliberate seeding, panspermia with purpose. 3i Atlas as a messenger not just of information, but of life, broadcasting templates into ocean worlds and waiting. If that's true, then we have to ask the question civilizations whisper to themselves when the stars finally answer. Who sent it? So what's 3i Atlas? A probe, a carrier, the intelligence itself? We have heat that breathes, light that speaks, gravity that bends, fragments with right angles, spins that count primes, magnetospheres that answer, and spectral echoes that sound like the alphabet of life. That doesn't point to nature, that points to intent. And that, maybe, is the real fear. Not that we're alone, but we were never alone. That our first radio whispers did not sink into emptiness, but found ears, older, patient, returning at intervals we've only just learned to measure. 3i Atlas keeps its counsel. It doesn't stall, it doesn't drift. It moves with purpose. If it's chosen not to speak, then the only question left, the one that keeps night watchers awake, is what's it waiting for? Thank you for watching.